So hey guys, welcome back to another video. I thought I'd do a little video talking about my Music Man Cutlass HSS. I've owned this guitar for about a year now, and as you guys know, things change over time. You know, you bond with an instrument, you learn its flaws, you experience more of its strengths, I would say. And yeah, you just kind of, your views change on a guitar. You know, I made a video pretty much a month, maybe even less, after I got this guitar. Definitely still in the honeymoon period. And I just thought I'd make a follow-up video on this Cutlass HSS. I haven't, well, this is my #1 guitar, and it has been since the day I bought it. So that might give you an insight onto my opinions on this guitar, but basically, I love it. I still love it. I love it more than I did on the day I bought it. That being said, it has, or it did have, some queries, some kind of quirks that I have since then worked around, changed, and maybe there are more things that I might change in the future. That's one of the things I love about guitars, is that it's very easy to change things on them, really. The great things about guitars is that they are mostly customizable, you know, especially bolt-on style guitars. You know, it's essentially a collection of parts put together that can be swapped out if you really want them to. So, quick rundown of the stock specs of the guitar. We have shallow locking tuners, which are really, really great. We have maple neck. So this is a 2017 model. The 2018 model has a baked maple neck, but other than that, it's identical. But it's a lot more expensive than this was. These have gone up quite a lot in price in the past year. These were only released last year, and they now have a baked maple neck and are more expensive. We have a rosewood fingerboard, so it's not power ferro, it is rosewood. We have Music Man's own custom designed pickups. So we have 2 single coils and a ceramic bridge humbucker, which has been designed to work really well with these single coils, and it really does complement the single coils really well, because sometimes HSS sets can be a bit unbalanced, which is not the case with these. They are quite hi-fi sounding, I would say. They're not vintage inspired, they're quite modern sounding, but that being said, they sound great, very, very versatile. You can get so many different styles. Music Man's own designed tremolo system, which is killer. It's super stable, and I really love this kind of chrome cover on the bottom of it. It's a really nice feature. It's a huge chunk of metal, and it looks great, and it's super comfortable. That's pretty much it. 5-way selector, single volume, single tone. I like that, it's simple, and that's about it on the stock specs of this guitar. It's charcoal finish, which in a polyester coating, which is very different to polyurethane. Polyester is a much harder paint. It also, what's the word? Kind of connects better with the wood, resonates more with the wood, and it's a really high quality finish. There's no, as far as I can tell, there's no blemishes in anywhere on the paint, and it's super cool. And you can kind of tell that it's a bit harder than polyurethane. There's definitely, it's not choking out the wood at all. And it's a great finish, it's a great colour, great combination with the white pickup covers and the tortoiseshell. A couple of small things that I changed. The smallest thing I changed is that it came with 9s on, Ernie ball 9s, obviously they were Ernie ball, and 9s just aren't for me, so these at the moment has 11 to 54 on, and I'm loving them. They sound great. Just standard slinkies, by the way, not the paradigms or coated stuff. I have the tremolo set up against the body, so there's no pull back, it's only pull forwards. Speaking of the tremolo, you may notice that there are red springs in the back. Now those are aftermarket springs that I've put in. These are Truetone silent springs. The springs that were in here before were, I did get some noise from them. They were a bit pingy and a bit poppy, which was okay. You know, it's not a big deal, but I just changed them changed them to these and it solved all my problems. Really recommend these to anybody who's got a tremolo style bridge in their guitar. Really great addition to any guitar. And they work. These are quite high tension. These are just the standard tension from Futone, but they're a lot higher tension than what I knew before. Those are the small things that I've done to this guitar. The biggest thing you may notice is that there's a big hole in the back of it now. That was where the battery compartment for the buffer was. I had a battery in the back of it, a 9-volt battery that basically powered the silent circuit and buffer in the guitar. A lot of people, it was quite misleading, and a lot of people thought that the pickups were active, and I think that drew a lot of people away from these when they were originally released. But they're completely passive pickups, it's just the circuitry here was active. So it had a silent circuit and buffer output, which was killer. It really worked. The silent circuit really worked, and the buffer was a really nice addition to, you know, solving those long cable runs and stuff. But as you guys know, I like my pedals, and I really like my fuzz pedals, and hopefully you guys know that buffers don't work too well in front of fuzz pedals. So I had a back and forth with a few guys, kind of trying to figure out a way that I could bypass the buffer without removing it completely. Shout out to Daniel Thornhill from Fjord Fuzzers, who we went back and forth a load of times, and he really helped me out figuring stuff out. Also shout out to Derek from Music Man. Also gave me some advice and answered a load of questions about that sort of circuit for me. And yeah, eventually I just decided it was best to rip the whole thing out and put a more traditional pot style and a cap in here. So now it's completely like a standard Strat, into the pots, out to the jack. So there's no silent circuit, there's no buffer. Which, you know, I guess that's a controversial thing to do. Speaking of the buffer and silent circuit, here it is. As you can see, it's like a PCB with the pots mounted to the PCB. Super highly engineered, high quality thing going on here. This thing here, I guess, is the silent circuit. It looks like a dummy coil style thing. So basically it acts as like a second coil to your single coils to cancel out the hum, a bit like a humbucker. But yeah, that's the silent circuit, and then all this on the bottom, I guess, is the buffer. I just took it out. It was that easy, just to take this out. Only had to desolder a couple of things, take it out, and put normal pots back in, and that was it. And I'm loving it. I have to say, I'm really, really loving it. Obviously, the pickups are now a bit noisy, but it's not a problem for me. I'm not too fussed about noisy single coils. I have a P90 loaded guitar, and P90s are the noisiest, and it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with the noise. The buffer, it's okay. I think for me personally, there are more disadvantages to advantages of having a buffer directly in the guitar. Like I said, fuzz pedals doesn't work really very well. That being said, the buffer is great for those people who are using Axe Effects, Kempers, Helix, or just people who don't use a lot of drive pedals or fuzz pedals. That buffer is such a great selling point for this guitar. But not for me. I took it out, but I didn't like it until I tried it with fuzz pedals. So it's not in here anymore. That's pretty much everything I've done about this guitar. I've gigged it, I've recorded pretty much every single video for the past year with this guitar. Recorded with it, obviously. Done a lot of stuff with it. And it just takes everything I throw at it and gives back so much. I love the Music Man ethos. They seem like a really sweet bunch of guys and girls. Guys and girls. And yeah, I love 90% of the guitars that they release. I'm not a fan of the John Petrucci stuff, but that's just me. I'm not that kind of player. But you know, their St. Vincent is killer. Their Stingray, which is kind of like a dual humbucker version similar to this, is awesome. And their James Valentine looks sweet as well. I love their guitars. If I was going to endorse any guitar company, it would probably be Music Man. But I'm not in a position to be an endorsee. I don't think. I have 600 subscribers, so don't worry about that. Things for the future. Like I said at the beginning of the video, things change over time. You know, your sound changes, or you fancy a change. And especially me, I find it very hard to stand still, you know, with things like my pedal board. It's always been moved about. I'm always messing about with my tone, playing styles, all that stuff. I'm always trying to one-up myself. So things that might change in the future about this, not a lot. I may get another one. I really like it that much that I would have a second one, probably one with 3 single coils. I may change the pickups at some point, get like a more vintage inspired HSS set, but to be honest, it's not a big problem. I really like these. Very modern, maybe I'd get something more vintage, I guess, but it's not a big emergency for me. They sound great. So yeah, I really, really recommend you go check out more Music Man guitars. I know I listened to a podcast recently, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Guitar Nerds, and they asked the question, is Music Man taking over the world right now? And maybe not taking over the world, but they are making great impressions with the guitar community. Super amazing build quality. I would say build quality that rivals PRS standards, but just doesn't look like a PRS. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you in the next video. Cheers!